Hello and a warm welcome to TBC News, our headlines tonight. Leaders involved in damaging the environment warned. UNAIDS commends Tanzania in fighting against AIDS.
So the country, one of the countries that has made fastest progress on reducing new infections and
Good evening, I am Teddy Mparanyanga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBConline, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages at TBConline. The Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, has directed that the leaders who are involved in damaging the environment for personal interest to stop immediately. Dr. Mpango gave the directive while ordering the demolition of the irrigation systems that block water entering the Great Ruaha River in Iringa region. Irene Mwakalinga from Iringa has more details.
This is the current state of the Ruaha River. 130 days have passed without the flow of water in the river. The saga of the drying up of the Great Ruaha River has awakened even those who were sleeping, and this time the journalists and their pens have declared a war to defend the river with the conservation resources. In front of the Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, news editors urged the government to intervene and take legal actions for the responsible people who collude to destroy the environment.
There is Usang Ranch, but Honorable Vice President, if we ask them, they don't know the owner. But we have researched it, and it is owned by 12 families. And in these families, there is judges, MPs, and the ministers.
The Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, said the government will not hesitate to deal with the suspect leaders who are involved in the destruction of the environment for their personal interests.
Those Rajaskars farmers are blocking the river without permission. Today, for the first time, these journalists have come out and exposed those families.
The cry of conservationists reveal without doubt that the water condition of Ruaha River is fragile.
Ruaha River, as you have seen, has been highly affected by the so-called activities of farming. So we need to find better ways. And I keep on encouraging institutions like, we call it consumers of the environment, which is TANESCO, TANAPA, any other institution which enjoys the presence of good environment should take charge.
Who is supposed to conserve the natural resources?
So to me, the government is doing well, but as a Chama cha Mapinduzi, we're still saying the work is still need to be done. We must supervise, we must make sure everybody, and I want to say this, from the lower level of the party to the higher level, everybody should be responsible for the environment.
The flow of Great Ruaha River contribute about 20% in the hydroelectric plants of Mtera, Kidatu, and the under construction Nyerere power plant. Irene Mwakalinga, TBC, Iringa.
Thank you, Irene Mwakalinga. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has instructed the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government to collaborate with the Ministry of Lands to ensure that areas in villages are set aside for livestock keepers. The aim is to avoid conflicts that arise frequently between the livestock keepers and the farmers. The Prime Minister was opening a livestock stakeholders meeting in Dodoma. He said that land conflicts in some areas are caused by lack of proper land demarcation.
Keepers should have the capacity to tend for their livestock. They should also ensure their private feeding grounds are officially recognized so that they may be able to own title deeds so that they can conduct their daily activities. The Ministry of Lands, Housing, Human Settlement Development, together with the local government, should cooperate with the livestock stakeholders in the preparation of better land uses in the villages. And special areas should be set apart, especially in the villages with the vast land.
The Ministers for Livestock and Fisheries, Mashimba Ndaki, and the Minister for Regional Administration and Local Government, Angela Kairuki, vowed to take action on the matter.
The livestock sector has the ability to create employment opportunities to Tanzanians, but it can also increase income of individual citizens.
We will continue to adhere to the law, policies, and all the requirements so that all issues pertaining to livestock keeping are smoothly run in order to attain positive results.
Moving on to the next news, the Minister for Energy, January Makamba, has warned all contractors who signed contracts to supply electricity in rural areas and have not completed the initial projects not to sign any other new contracts. Minister Makamba has given the directive in Dar es Salaam during the signing of the implementation of the third phase, second round of the project to supply electricity to the outskirts areas. Get more information from Zohra Ali. The Minister for Lands, Housing and Human Settlements Development, Dr. Angelina Mabula, has banned all councils in the country from adopting new drawing maps on open areas with the aim of changing the use of those areas. Henry Mabumo reports.
It is a continuation of the exercise of distributing land title deeds to the citizens through a formalization program in the districts of Dar es Salaam region and in Kigamboni districts. More than 2,000 title deeds have been issued. Speaking before handing out documents, the Minister for Land, Housing and Human Settlements Development, Dr. Angelina Mabula, uses the opportunity to appeal to all councils in the country.
It is forbidden to allow any new drawings or maps that will request for changing of its initial use. And those who have been allowed to continue with construction, they should cease to do so, because they have to follow a master plan. If there are new documents that have been issued but they go against the master plan, the construction should cease.
She also speaks on the issue of issuing permits different from the master plan.
I want to get a new written statement from Kigamboni district that indicates what the stumbling block is in this project that has been handed over to you and why there are still challenges in that project. Don't you have the mandate to execute that project?
Kigamboni District Commissioner Fatuma Nyangasa explains the problem for land invasion in the district.
The huge challenge here is the invasion done by people who are not faithful. I want to tell citizens of Kigamboni that invasion of areas which are not yours is against the law, and if you're caught, you'll be taken into the hands of the law.
Some of the citizens who were handed title deeds through the government's formalization program aired their views to the government.
They should raise more awareness so that citizens may receive their title deeds. In most of the land that officially recognized, only 10 of it has been handed to the people.
More than 41,000 pieces of land in Kigamboni district have been identified, of which 27,800 have been approved and 4,900 documents have been issued. Malio Cheto, TBC News.
That was a story by Henry Mabumo, read by Malio Cheto. On to the next news. The police force in Mwanza region has managed to seize a cargo of 6,300,000 plastic bags, which have been banned for use by the government due to their impact to the environment. Mwanza Regional Police Commander Wilrod Mutafungwa says that the plastic bags allegedly imported into the country from neighboring countries have been seized in the village of Chemabanda in Sengerema district while transported to Mwanza by private car. Here's a report by Moses Matthew, read by Faida Ngaga.
45 sacks carrying 315 cartons of plastic bags have been detained by the police at Chamabanda village, Sengerema district of Mwanza region. The sacks carry 6,300,000 plastic bags have been detained while being transported to Mwanza region. The use of plastic bags in the country has been banned due to its effects in environmental pollution.
Baada ya kupekuzi sasa kwenye gari hiyo tuliweza kukuta gari hiyo ikiwa na viroba
After careful investigation of the vehicle, we found 45 sacks, and inside them there were 6,300,000 plastic bags, of which the government has already banned in the country.
Milioni 6.3 ambazo tayari serikali imekwisha piga marufuku katika nchi yetu kuhusu matumizi ya hii mifuko ya plastic.
Mitsubishi Kenta with plate number T421ADM, which was used to transport the plastic bags, has also been detained together with the driver, Jovitas Kazimoto.
Uchunguzi wa jambo hilo unaendelea kubaini mifuko hiyo inatoka wapi.
Further investigation is ongoing in order to determine where these plastic bags come from and who is responsible for them. Also, we want to know the shops and possibly the factories that manufacture them. But so far, we have the car, the plastic bags, and the driver. However, further investigation is ongoing.
Tuna driver, lakini uchunguzi wa kina unaendelea.
On his side, the manager of the National Environmental Management Council, NEMC, in the Lake region, Jerome Kayombo, urges the society to avoid using plastic bags in order to foster environmental protection.
Mifuko hii inasemekana inaingia kutoka kwenye nchi jirani. Ukisoma hii mifuko utaona inazalishwa nchi jirani. Na kama alivyosema wenzetu wa jeshi la polisi, upelelezi unaendelea.
These plastic bags are said to come from neighboring countries. But as the police has mentioned earlier, the investigation is still being conducted because the label may say they are from neighboring countries, but actually from here. So we shall determine the truth after the investigation. I urge citizens to stop purchasing these plastic bags so that the producers can stop making them.
Na kama mnavyojua mkoa wetu wa Mwanza umezungukwa na ziwa Victoria. Kwa hii mifuko kwa sababu bei yote inaingia ziwani na inaenda kuathiri mazalia ya samaki, lakini pia hata kuziba kwa mitalo.
Faida Ngaga, TBC News.
Thank you, Faida Ngaga. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Dr. Stergomena Tax, has urged female leaders to have confidence, develop themselves, and have integrity in order to increase the number of female leaders in high-ranking leadership positions in the country. This was said at the launch of a second phase training program to women leaders in the public service organized by Uongozi Institute in cooperation with the government of the United Republic of Tanzania.
Jitume. Jiendeleze.
Work hard, improve your education, be humble, and have integrity. Whenever an opportunity arises, you should grab it.
On the other hand, the resident representative of UN Women, Hado Ado, urges women to be proactive in seeking for various opportunities in decision-making positions.
Really fortunate to have a wealth of women leaders setting an example for other countries in the region and beyond. Despite the progress, women's ability to lead and lead effectively continues to be limited by several structural barriers that were stated earlier, including discriminatory laws, policies, cultural norms and practices and attitudes.
Moving on to the next news, the Minister for Information, Communication and Information Technology, Nape Nnauye, says ministry will continue to cooperate with all the government and private institutions that give rights to the internet space networks by facilitating the availability of ICT equipment. Mr. Nnauye mentions that this will include preparing guidelines, documents and statistics on internet security issues, as well as providing training on cybercrime incidents in a bid to curb all cybercrime incidents. Rehema Sababili reports.
He made the remarks in Dar es Salaam while handing over the ICT equipment to the police force and the National Prosecutor's Office, which may ease their daily task to match with the current global trends.
The ministry will ensure that all the equipment will arrive at the relevant areas so that they can start on time and be directed to the use of the cybercrime module to enable the system to work effectively, aiming to get the same statistics of the cybercrime incidents in the country, as well as finding all the cyber incidents starting from the investigation until the matter is closed in the court.
Speaking on behalf of the Secretary General of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Director of Immigration Services Suma Mwakibasi thanked the ministry, noting the equipment will help to protect children and young people who are victims of the internet.
We are hoping that all the efforts and the equipment will be directed to the areas which has a lot of cybercrime incidents, and it will be simple for people in those areas to get their rights. We wish to do something for the police force to be seen as modern force like other police force in terms of operations. And today you're going to hand us over the equipment. We assure you that the equipment will be used as directed.
This equipment will enable a person to know if the case is in the court or the prosecutor's office. And lastly, the person will know when the witness needed in the court.
The IT equipment handed over to the police force includes 170 computers, 170 modems and 10 laptops, while the National Prosecutor's Office received 180 computers, 30 modems and 85 scanners. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Rehema Sebabili, TBC.
Thank you, Rehema Sebabili, for that piece of information. The Ilala District Commissioner Ngwelabuzu Ludigija has instructed the Land Transport Regulatory Authority not to confirm that the proposed fare prices proposed by the National Rail receiving stakeholders' recommendations. Ludigija has said that it is important for TRC to have transition fares, and that will enable many citizens to have the opportunity to experience the service and then express their opinions. Here is a full report prepared by Ngarayai Olekimosa and read by Rehema Sebabili.
The meeting aims at receiving stakeholders' recommendations on the proposed SGR train fare led by the Director General of LATRA, Habibu Suluo.
This is the new service in Tanzania, and before we approve the rates as a regulator, we needed to have a consultative meeting and get opinions and views from the users, especially the Tanzanians, because these are low-income earners. So we receive the comments and we analyze. We also do our consultative meeting. We will go around and see what other countries are doing. Nearby country like Kenya, they have SGR. So we will come to the decision.
Leon Ngowi, the Executive Secretary of the Land Transport Services Advisory Council, LATRA CCC, says the TRC should review the fares.
We advise the TRC to do three things. One is to consult with the government to get subsidies in their operations. That's one. Then the second one is to calculate the fares depending on the marginal cost. When marginal cost is equal to the demand, that means the ability of the passenger to pay, then they will make business. And out of that business, some other associated business like restaurant, banks, and the like will actually grow, and not necessarily to concentrate on making profit. And the last one, we said now they should consider the welfare, the social welfare of the citizen.
Speaking on behalf of the Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner, Ilala District Commissioner Ngwelabuzu Ludigija says it will be better to have transitional train fares before the actual price is confirmed.
I have just on the LATRA to stop speeding endorsing the fare which has been proposed by TRC, so that we can give enough time for the citizen to give their views, also to test the transport itself, so that they can see if it correlates with the proposed fare. So this transport is expected by every Tanzanians to use the transport itself, because it is believed to be the cheapest transport.
Fares recommended by TRC are 59,494 shillings from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma for economy class, while children aged 4 to 12 years, their price stands at 29,747 shillings. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Rehema Sebabili, TBC.
Moving to the next news, UNAIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima commends Tanzania's efforts to fight AIDS pandemic and its monetary contribution to the Global Fund this year. This follows many positive strides that the country has made in fighting against HIV and AIDS. Nasa Kingo has more.
Tanzania is termed to be the leader in the global HIV response. This is despite being ranked as the 5th country in the world with people living with HIV. This is after South Africa, Nigeria, Mozambique, and India. According to AIDS Report 2022, 1.7 million people are believed to be living with HIV in Tanzania. But UNAIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima commends the country for its tremendous efforts to reduce the number of infections and those dying of AIDS.
Tanzania is a leader in the global HIV response. Tanzania is the country with the 5th highest number of people living with HIV. This is after South Africa, Nigeria, Mozambique, and India. It has a high number, 1.7 million people. But Tanzania is also the country, one of the countries that has made fastest progress on reducing new infections and reducing deaths.
For the last 10 years, the country has managed to reduce new infections by 48%, and those dying of AIDS the country has taken.
One, of course, is following the data. We, UNAIDS, support Tanzania to gather the data about who is newly infected, who is coming on for treatment, who was tested, all this data. So Tanzania is able to know where the problem is and to target its response. So that's one, that's very important. The second thing Tanzania has been able to do is to work with partners. More than 90% of the funding for fighting HIV/AIDS in Tanzania comes from the Global Fund, which is a group of donors, as well as the American government PEPFAR program. Pulling together enough partners to help to fund the response is very important, and working well with them.
But she advises the country to start setting up measures to take the cause on its own.
But of course, that also means Tanzania has to start finding a way to pay, take over the cost, because the partners will not always be there. But that good relationship with partners is important.
On his part, the UNAIDS country director in Tanzania, Dr. Martin Audet, commends the country's initiative to contribute to the Global Fund this year.
And let me take this opportunity to thank the government and particularly Her Excellency the President, Samia Suluhu Hassan, for the contribution they made to the Global Fund. They have pledged $1 million contribution from Tanzania, and I think this is a remarkable feat.
Thank you, Nasa Kingo, for that news. And that item concludes local news tonight. International news up next.
International news. A high court in UK has ruled the government plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda is legal. Deportation policy was suspended in June after a last-minute challenge at the High Court in London. The ruling comes after a case filed by a right group Detention Action, individual targeted, and a union. London High Court said Interior Minister must consider circumstances of each individual. In April, the UK agreed on a deal to send tens of thousands of undocumented migrants to Rwanda. The UK government hopes the deportation policy will deter asylum seekers from crossing the English Channel to UK. From Europe to Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa has been re-elected to lead the governing African National Congress Party ANC in South Africa. This means the new African National Congress leader will lead the party into election in 2024. Current President Ramaphosa was chosen over former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize to lead the party. Ramaphosa has come under fire recently after covering up burglary at his game farm in 2020. Independent report found African President Ramaphosa may have violated his oath of office. To Asia, Thailand Navy is searching for more than 30 missing sailors after a warship capsized in strong winds. More than 7 crew members have been rescued from the Gulf of Thailand. 3 vessels, helicopters are searching for other survivors. The officials say the ship suffered an engine malfunction and overturned in strong winds. Thousands of farmers have been protesting in New Delhi in India. They said the government has not fulfilled its promises. Protesters are demanding more subsidies and support from the government, as well as better prices for their products. The farmers are demanding state assistance to cope with rising inflation. Farmers in New Delhi want better prices for their produce as cost of fuel and other goods increases. They want the government to slash taxes and fertilizers and agriculture equipment. And lastly, to North America. Delegates meeting the UN Biodiversity Summit in Canada have signed a deal to protect nature and promote conservation. At least 30% of the world's land marine always have put under protection by 2030, and most significant effort made by government so far. The deal also finances projects so far on biodiversity in developing countries. That agreement focuses on vital ecosystems, including coral reefs, provide habitats from green lives as well as food and income from millions of people, but many reefs are under threat. Nyambona Masamba, TBC, Dar es Salaam.
Thank you, Nyambona Masamba, and that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. I am Teddy Mparanyanga. Have a very lovely night.